Okay, so these notes will help you to draw the digestive system. So here's your body outline here, and then over here is a diagram that you can work off of. We're not going to put all of these on here, but we are going to start with the mouth. So the mouth kind of goes like this. There's the mouth. And then from the mouth, we actually have the pharynx that we learned about in the respiratory system. So between the mouth and the esophagus here, like right here, is the pharynx. And remember that actually kind of connects the nose and the mouth. So we kind of put the pharynx in here. And we're going to label these. So remember, so label this mouth, label this pharynx, and make sure you're pausing the video so that you can label it. So that's the best I can do writing pharynx. I wrote it out for you because it's not here, but you know we already have the mouth. And then the pharynx is connected to a long tube that goes down to the stomach. So we're going to draw this going down. And then we're going to label that, and that's the esophagus. So this here is esophagus. It's pronounced a lot like how it's spelled. So it's all these weird letters, but it is just pronounced esophagus. And then the esophagus goes, you can't see because it's behind the liver here, but it actually goes directly to the stomach. And the stomach, we think of our stomach as right in the middle, but the stomach's actually a little over on the left-hand side. So I'm going to make a stomach, and it's kind of a, I always think of it almost like an oval shape. So it kind of comes up like that. That's the best stomach I can do. And then again, make sure you label that stomach. And we're going to skip the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas for right now. We're going to get back to them. But the reason we're going to skip them is because down here at the base of the stomach, that is connected directly to the small intestine. And so all of this jumble of stuff in here is the small intestine. So from the stomach, I'm just going to kind of loop it around, blah, blah, blah. There's my small intestine. It's actually not looped this much, but it's looped a lot. And then this goes down as well because it's a big tube. And so then we're going to label this small intestine. And the small intestine is actually longer than the large intestine, but it is narrower. So it's a smaller passageway, which is why it's called the small intestine. And then that small intestine connects to the large intestine here. So going all the way around like so. And then we're going to bring this guy all the way around like so. And then this part out here going around the outside, that's the large intestine. So again, make sure you're pausing the video to write in what everything is. Large intestine. And then we're not going to worry about the rectum or the anus, but the large intestine leads to what we call the rectum, and then the anus is the opening between the intestine and the outside. And this is when you go to the bathroom and you have a bowel movement, or you poop, as you say, that's where it comes out. And so now I want to add in the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. The liver is this huge mass right here, and it's kind of on top. And so we're going to put this liver in kind of like that. It's shaped almost like a triangle. And then label it and call it liver. And then the gallbladder is this tiny little guy here that sits under the liver. So it sits right there. I'm going to just make like almost like grape size. And again, label that gallbladder. And then the last one is the pancreas, and you can see it tucked in here behind the stomach. I'm just going to kind of make it blobby and sticking out there. And that is the pancreas. And what's interesting is all of this stuff is inside of your rib cage. So if we're to add in the skeleton, your ribs are here, and your ribs are really protecting all of these organs right in the center, including your heart here, right? So that's why everything's so centralized, because then it's protected by that bone. So let's now take a look at what all these things do. So let's now look at what the different organs do. Oh, and I realize this still says respiratory. This should say digestive. Let me fix that. Okay, so there, now we're fixed. Organs of the digestive system. So mouth is obviously where the food enters the body, but what's interesting is the whole point of the digestive system is to break down your food to get it to other parts of your body, and that's called digestion. And what a lot of people don't understand is that your saliva actually has chemicals in them called enzymes that start to break down that food. So it's not just about making it smaller with your teeth. There's actual chemical reactions happening in your mouth when you start to chew. So that's one reason chewing is so important. And we're going to see these enzymes. I'll mention that again. Then the pharynx. We talked about that one, right? That's the area after the nose and mouth, and both air and food travel there. And then if it's air, it goes down to the trachea. If it's food, it goes down to the esophagus. So the esophagus is the tube that food travels to get into the stomach. And remember, only one should be open at a time, the esophagus or the trachea. And that's why you don't want to talk while you're eating, because then food can sometimes get into your trachea and you can choke. That's what choking is. So it's because they both travel through the pharynx and then they go their separate ways. So after the esophagus, you get to the stomach. So the stomach holds the food while acids and enzymes break it apart. So we're all well aware of stomach acid. We talk about acid all the time with regard to the stomach. But there's also these chemicals called enzymes. And it's really the enzymes that do a great job of breaking down your food, because you need to get it all broken down from the big chunks that you swallowed into tiny, tiny pieces, so small, in fact, that you might not even be able to see them. And that's the enzymes. And you have enzymes in all parts of your digestive system. Then you have, so we didn't do this, we kind of went in a different order when we drew it, but you've got the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas. And these do several different things. But the main thing they do when we're talking about the digestive system is they produce chemicals, again, a lot more enzymes, but other chemicals as well, that help the body break down food in the small intestine. So they put their chemicals directly into the first part of the small intestine, because the small intestine is really where the majority of the digestion takes place. So you need the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas to give you those chemicals that you need to break down all of the food. And this is, again, remember, you should be pausing the video after each one and writing it down. It's really helpful, instead of listening to the whole thing, to listen to one bullet point and then write it down, and then listen to the next bullet point and then write it down. So then we get to the small intestine, and this is where most of your food is broken down, to the point where it's almost liquidy when it's going through the small intestine. It's no longer really solid. It's very watery. And from there, from the small intestine, nutrients either go to the liver. So the liver, besides producing chemicals, also is the first place nutrients go. And then they go to the rest of your body. Or if it's solid waste that you can't use, then that goes to the large intestine. And then the large intestine, in the large intestine, the last bit of nutrients are squeezed out if there's any left. Any extra water is squeezed out, which is why poop should normally be so solid, because it shouldn't have any water. The water should stay in your body. And then anything else that's left behind becomes what we would call waste matter, what you might call poop, and then that is expelled through the anus. And so that's kind of what happens from your mouth down to your large intestine, from going in to going out. So please, if you have questions, make sure you're asking them, and make sure you've written all of this down in your journal.